my Pro Football Hall of Fame friend Kurt Warner here on the Rich Eisen Show set. You will be part of NFL Network's coverage this evening, focusing obviously on the quarterback group that could comprise, I guess, what would you say, like almost 20-something% of tonight's draft.
Yeah,
like, that's it. This is coming.
It's going to be fun. We know that 4 are going to go. Do we get up to 6? How does that play out? Somebody trading up. I mean, that's the thing that's beautiful about it, is that we always know it's such a hot commodity when you have good quarterbacks.
Yes.
Because everybody needs a good quarterback. And so, do some of those teams lower down, have the fireworks and firepower to go up and get their guy? Do they get him later on? Does somebody jump back into the first round? But we've got 6 guys that can obviously play and had great college careers. So it is going to be fun to talk about them and see where they end up.
And I know this is so your lane. It is so up your alley when you're breaking down tape or film and evaluating a quarterback. How do you do it from the collegiate level to the pro level? What is the code that you think needs to be cracked?
I don't know if there is a code that can be cracked from the standpoint that all of these guys have to get better. Like, I don't care how good you are in college, you have to get better if you're going to be great at the NFL level. So that's the part of it that you can't crack. Like, I don't know which one of these guys. I mean, I continue to always look back at Tom Brady. Like, he's 45 and he hasn't hit his ceiling yet, right? We throw around the word ceiling all the time. They got a high ceiling. But we don't know what somebody's ceiling is until they get there. But the great ones always get better and better and better, even at the NFL level. So all of these guys are going to have to get better. But
what is the ability that a collegiate quarterback needs to show on tape that would at least lead you to believe that this guy has X? To succeed?
Well, you know me. I'm first and foremost all about processing. I still believe the quarterback position at the NFL level is played processing information and getting the ball out of your hands. I know we've got some tremendously athletic quarterbacks in the National Football League now, but you watch them, and I watch the tape week after week after week. The teams that have the best chance to win are the quarterbacks that make the layups, that do the things they're supposed to do most consistently. So that's what I'm always trying to see at the college level, is when I have a play that I can decipher, okay, where I would go with the football, how I would coach this play, I watch that quarterback run the play over and over again. Do they stay consistent with it? Do they read it the same way? Do they understand with a different coverage where they're going with the football? So I'm always trying to figure that piece out first, because I believe no matter what, no matter how physically talented you are, if you can mentally process information and you've got enough physical talent, you can be successful at the NFL level. And so that's where it all starts with me. But it's hard. The college game is played differently. The hashes are different. The plays are different. It's more simplified than at the NFL level. And so trying to figure out enough of those pieces for these guys is where it gets really, really hard.
And also some of them aren't even asked to process. They just say, stop, take a look. We'll show you a photograph of a hammer, Paul Feinbaum on a box of Wheaties, and that's your read right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's essentially what sometimes it is. So in terms of processing, would that make Michael Penix Jr. number 1? Would you? Is he the best processor of the quarterbacks that you've seen?
Well, I tell you what, Jaden Daniels just had the best season on tape of all of these guys.
He did.
And he did everything. So you saw the processing, you saw the NFL-type reads and throws down the field. So this season, I believe he was the best quarterback in college football. Obviously, he won the Heisman, and rightfully so. So he had the whole body of work this year. You were just talking to Coach about it before. Is the question becomes, is that Jaden Daniels who you get every year moving forward in the NFL? Is he the next Joe Burrow who had kind of that one breakout season and becomes this great quarterback? Michael Penix was phenomenal. And for 2 years, he's been really, really good, really consistent, throwing the ball down the field, which is another parameter for me. At the NFL level, you have to be able to make those chunk throws consistently. 15 to 35 yards down the field, you've got to be able to make that throw. Michael Penix, as good as anybody in college football at doing that. Now, the question becomes is, how do these guys in the room deal with his medical? Like, what do you do with that? If you're going up to get a guy and you want him to be your franchise guy, how do you treat that? So I believe the only reason that he falls down the draft boards is because of the medical. Because if you watch what he did on tape the last 2 years, you could argue that he's number 3 on this list, just behind Caleb, who obviously had a great 3-year run in college football, winning the Heisman, all that stuff. And then Jaden, who had the best season last year, you'd slot him right behind them, I think, when you watch the tape at the number 3 spot. But will he get picked there? You got some people saying 5, maybe even 6 on the list. To me, it's all because of just the mental or the physical part of it.
And the thing I love about this conversation, Kurt Warner here on the Rich Eisen Show, among many reasons, we're layering here, because there are so many layers to this evaluation process, from the tape and then the parts of the tape that you see and how processing needs to be crucial. And now you see a guy who's not only great at processing but also making the chunk plays that you need to get with Penix, but there's a medical issue. And then just the ultimate coup de grace or cherry on top is fit. Fit. Is it a fit with what a team is running for a system? Is it a fit for a running of a system that could change because the coach is coming in or on a hot seat or anything like that? So Jaden Daniels, you said, had the best season on tape. Is he a fit, the best fit for what Washington is about to attempt to do offensively, in your estimation?
Well, just knowing that Cliff Kingsbury is there and what they did in college, and I watched him a lot, obviously, when he was in Arizona. We're at home for me, and watching the offense that they ran. They run a lot of what we call pure progression type stuff, which simply means no matter what the coverage you get, this guy's number 1, this guy's number 2, this guy's number 3, and you're just working through your progression. That was similar to what Jaden Daniels did a lot at LSU. And so I believe from a fit standpoint, what they want to do, Jaden Daniels would fit very, very well in that system. But I will say this, because we talk about system a lot, and there's no question system can play a part in how we see the game as quarterbacks, because we all see the game differently. I say this all the time. You could take 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks and give them the same play. One might love it. One would say, I'm okay with that. And another guy goes, I don't like that, because it's all based on how we see the game. Some guys see it from low to high. Some guys see it from top down. And so I say that because, you're going to have different coaches that teach it a different way. But the plays primarily within most offenses are very similar. And so it's about understanding how you're going to read that play no matter what system you're in. Like 65-75% of offensive playbooks around the NFL are going to be exactly the same. You're going to have the same plays. You're going to call them differently. They're going to be run a little bit differently, but they're going to be the same basic plays. So it's not like this is, rock like, hey, I've got this system over here, which is so dramatically different than what you're going to get over here. That's not necessarily the case, even though it might be coached and taught a little bit differently. A lot of it comes down to how you're going to process that information.
What about Drake Maye? What about him? What's your assessment for him to go to Washington tonight?
What everybody's, and again, this is kind of the interesting thing with Jaden Daniels too, is that he wasn't necessarily the guy we saw last year until last year. We look at Drake Maye, and a big part of our evaluation is going to be last year, because he has some technical issues, some things that has to be cleaned up.
Like what? What needs to be cleaned up?
Well, so, from our perspective, like you'll see his feet come close together. That's not what we want as a quarterback, because when our base gets tight, it creates more movement. There's times at the top of his drop where he's bouncing. And you always know as a quarterback, you can't throw when you're bouncing. You've got to come back into your base and throw it. So the timing aspect of things, getting a better and more solid base to get the ball out on time and quicker and more accurately are things he's got to work on. But we saw the physical ability this year as well as last year. But if we took this draft class and we moved it back a year, and it was, a year ago, where would Drake Maye be in the mix? He would probably be number 2 on the mix because of what he did in the season he had 2 years ago. So which one are you getting? And how are you evaluating these guys? Is it the guy we saw last year? Is it the guy we saw earlier in their career? And so that to me is one of those questions that I think different teams will see it differently. Is, it was a different system last year, different offense coordinator, different team around him last year. We're going to go back to 2 years ago, and they may have him elevated a little bit higher than they may off of last year's tape. So very good quarterback, has all the skill set, and I like comparison. So Jaden Daniels compared to Joe Burrow. That one great year, is that what we get in the NFL? How about Josh Allen? Josh Allen, Drake Maye, very similar. In college, ups and downs. There were some accuracy issues, all of that stuff. Josh Allen got with the right coaches, worked on his craft, now is one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League because he's got that physical to go with the technical stuff and obviously the mental part of it, which I think are all things Drake Maye has. But we can't project forward if he's going to learn and get better with that accuracy aspect of things that kind of wavered sometimes this year.
So I'm just going to go here with you, and I hope you go with it with me, Kurt. So Caleb Williams first overall.
Yep.
Who would you counsel Washington to take second overall?
Again. Yeah, I always have to put a caveat because I don't get the room. I don't get to be in a room with these guys.
I understand.
And interview them
but this
and
is
get them on the
talk
board.
radio.
I know.
How dare you be
so
nuanced?
If we're just doing talk radio, I'm taking Jaden Daniels.
Okay.
How do you not? After the season he had last year, how good he was, I could pull out a couple games, Mississippi State game, the Ole Miss game, where I looked at those games and I'm like, that is about as NFL type play as I saw from anybody in college football last year.
Yes.
So to see that a couple times, coupled with a season like he had, like to me, it's a no-brainer that you have to go there based solely on that.
Then New England's sitting there. Do they take Drake Maye?
I think they do.
You would counsel them to take Drake Maye?
I think they do, yes. If you're going quarterback at that spot, I think you have to go Drake Maye there.
Okay.
And you have to believe that you can correct some of those flaws, and he can become, your Josh Allen.
Would you counsel the Giants or Vikings to make some sort of monster offer to get New England to not do that and then move up to get Drake Maye? Would you counsel that?
I don't know if I would counsel that for the Giants. Just because they have Daniel Jones, they've invested in him.
You really believe in him?
Well, I don't know if I believe that he's that franchise guy, but I don't know if they're in that situation where they feel like they're a quarterback away.
Okay,
so because of that, and you've got, how much are you willing to give up without being able to build the team around the quarterback, which is kind of what we've seen a little bit with Daniel Jones.
Yes.
If you're Minnesota, I think you look at the roster and you say, we may just be a quarterback away, a good quarterback away for a number of years. You want to get Justin Jefferson signed on for the long term. And you have the capital with the 2 number 1 picks that if I'm Minnesota, I'm definitely considering it more than if I'm the New York Giants, if I can get up there and make sure I get my guy.
What if McCarthy drops to 6? And you're the Giants. Do you counsel they take him there? You don't have to give up anything, and you get JJ McCarthy.
I don't.
Okay.
I still think there I go and try to find another game changer there at that position.
Like Malik Neighbors or something.
Exactly.
You go there.
I would probably
now,
go there.
Do you
like
like Daniel Jones that much, or you just don't? We haven't even touched on JJ.
We haven't touched on JJ yet. I still have questions about JJ, but I have questions about all of these guys. But I think I would have to be, if I'm going to make that pick that high or go up to get a guy, I would have to be convinced that he could be a guy that could carry my team. And with JJ, I'm not convinced of that.
Why?
Now,
Why?
Simply because I haven't seen it. Now, again, I'm using all these analogies with other guys. C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud was a great college quarterback. I did not see from C.J. Stroud on the college tape what I saw from C.J. Stroud last year.
You didn't see.
Last year, he was a different quarterback playing for Houston and a top 5 quarterback in the National Football League. So I say that to say, I know they didn't ask J.J. to do that stuff, right? They didn't ask him to carry the team. He didn't have to because they were so good. So it doesn't mean he can't do it. But for me, I would have to be confident that I believed whoever I drafted at that position could carry my team throw after throw after throw and do it week after week after week, because that's what the position entails. And I'm just not sold that JJ can do that because I haven't seen it. I just haven't seen it at the college level, and that's what worries me, even though we've seen other quarterbacks that are better NFL quarterbacks than college quarterbacks. JJ might be one of them. I just don't know the answer to that.
So if the Vikings are sitting there at 11 and both JJ McCarthy and Penix are there, what would you suggest they do?
I mean, again, I'm not in the room. I don't have the medical.
I get it.
I'm taking Michael Penix. I mean, what I've seen the last 2 years, if that's the quarterback that I get coming right into the NFL, I think he was a better passer and more consistent throwing the football than JJ was, and I would go Penix.
You would?
I would. But again, I don't have to make that decision when I'm sitting here going, hey, 3 years he lost his season because of injuries.
No, I understand
how do you
that
rectify that? Right.
I'm just talking
but
about
Penix. I'm going Penix.
So then, obviously, if Penix is there at 13 for the Raiders, you would count.
I mean, I might even argue against Drake Maye. If I didn't have that question and it was Drake Maye against Michael Penix, I might make the argument that Michael Penix to me was the third best quarterback on the field in college football this past year. And so I would argue that I might make that decision if I felt good with the medical way up there,
That's how
5.
much you like Michael Penix.
I do. I think he's really good. Yeah. And I like what they asked him to do. Yeah. And the funny thing is we talk about the combine, right?
Yes.
We go to the combine every year. Oh, what is the combine worth? What does it mean? I tell you what, when he showed up and he decided to throw, there wasn't a lot of guys throwing, he decided to throw, watching the ball come off his hand live was a difference maker for me. To see the pace that he put on the football, and that's the ability to have a firm throw, but not overthrow it, not throw it too hard, to have the ability to have touch, to allow guys to adjust to it. That was a difference maker because I would not have got to see him throw in person. That elevated him on my board because the ability to understand how to throw, to me, is just as important as can you make every throw.
And before I let you go, Lincoln Riley's about to join us. So he settled in a couple minutes ago. Good to see you, Coach, of USC. Just about to join us in a second. What would you counsel Chicago Bears fans for their expectation level for the quarterback that this coach is about to send to the next level?
Well, I think they're getting another exciting quarterback like they had in Justin Fields. I think, how I would, say it to them is what I saw with Justin Fields is they threw him in so quickly that he never got a chance to grow into the quarterback that maybe he can become. He was thrown out there and it's like, just go play football and try to win games for us. And we saw a guy that just had to be a playmaker 24/7. Caleb can do all of those things, but he also can do the stuff inside the pocket. My counsel to them is kind of force him inside the pocket first, allow him to grow as a passer, and then allow the creative piece to be the second part of it. And I think they've built a team that will allow him to do that more than Justin Fields was. But I think that was the biggest thing with Justin Fields. He never got a chance to grow into the position because they threw him out there, put a ball in his hands, and said, do what you can to try to be successful. And it was all about playmaking and not about playing the position.
Is also, run for your life quite a bit too.
No doubt.
And that's
No
obviously
doubt.
a better situation that Caleb's about to be drafted into. Great to see you all. See you
Good to see
tonight,
you.
sir.
All right.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.